That was my thumbnail pick. Out of all the filters that Premiere Pro has available, actually this is probably the one that I like the most, right? It actually made a massive difference to the audio. If by any chance you are interested in music, you know, if you like to sing, you like to play guitar, or maybe you're a DJ or whatever, I would encourage you to maybe learn to start mixing music or start recording music, learn how to master and all that stuff. You're like, you know, just for fun, because a lot of stuff I learned from mixing music applies to editing, right? And one of the things that I discovered that made me very happy is the multiband compressor, right? As always, because it's a tutorial for audio, I wanna make sure and make this clear. Please take care of your hearing, right? So we're gonna go up to Window, we're gonna go down to Audio Mixer, and we're gonna select the sequence that we're working on. In this case, multiband compressor tutorial, that's my sequence. And it opens up the window here, right? If you get something that looks like this, there's an arrow here in the top left. Click on that, and then you get the windows here, so you can have pull down menus. That way you can have like the ability to add your filters. Now in the master, be sure to have a click on the pull down menu, amplitude compression, go to hard limiter, and double click on it. And then for the maximum amplitude, set that to negative, in my case 4. You can do -1 or 2, whatever works for you, but anything past -4 for me personally just does not sound good, right? So that's what I set it as. So please do that every time you're gonna mess with audio, just to protect your hearing, right? So when I'm editing pause videos, I usually have like 3 scenarios, right? Mainly one is basically when he's just talking to the camera, right? To answer your questions, right? He's speaking towards the camera, but because he has the mic right near his chest area, there's a lot of noise that he picks up with that mic, right? In this case, because he's unboxing, he gets a lot of like high popping sounds or the sound of paper, you know, rubbing together and stuff like that.
So I'll keep an eye on that myself, and we'll surely discuss it on the live show this week and stuff like that. But for now, I have not even opened these boxes or anything. You guys are getting really the first look along with me for all of this.
So you can hear a lot of the, you know, crinkly sounds of like the plastic and the foam and all that stuff, right?
That I receive certain onto the card itself, though. Here it comes. Here's our third card. 3080, at least for now, are going to be available at launch. Some are being pushed to later in September.
You know, high popping sounds of like the tape breaking and stuff like that.
Next to arrive was our Asus card, and this is a Tough Gaming Series GPU. Been an Asus sub-brand for their motherboards and stuff for quite some time.
So you can see when he's cutting like the plastic straps right here in my meter, you can see there's like a spike, right?
It's been used for their, I would say, and sometimes you get a box that says box full, and
there's a lot of spikes here, but because we have the hard limiter, it pretty much stops at -4, right? Which is again the reason why you want to add a hard limiter to protect your hearing. So it stops at -4.
Box full, and
you know you want that. So, but if we zoom in our timeline here, as you can see here, the audio files, it pretty much like you can see there's a lot of spikes that happens throughout the audio, right? When he's talking, because you know there's like a lot of spikes when he's opening the packages, and these spikes can like mess up your audio, especially when you try to normalize everything, right? So if you want to normalize the audio, right? So you select it all, and then you right click, you go to audio gain, then you normalize max peak to say 0. It doesn't move, right? Why? Because the peak is already reaching 0, right? It's already being maxed out. So if I was to like increase this to right click, then audio gain, the normalized max peak, I usually go to 3, right? So everything gets maxed out, right?
Been an Asus sub-brand for their motherboards and stuff for quite some time. More recently, it's been used for their, I would say...
All right, so it does increase the overall bass volume, right, when Paul is speaking, but that also increases the spikes, right, of the audio, right? Also, like the sound of like the paper and all that stuff, that volume does get amplified too, so it sounds like not good for like the hearing, right?
Here comes the card. Oops, here comes the card though, and pretty standard Asus packaging. I've seen a similar design to this before. Honestly, it's just cardboard and foam. Who cares about the packaging? Let's look at the card. Onto the card itself though. Here it comes.
All right, so depending on your headphones, right? Now, I'm using, you know, studio quality headphones, right? These are the Sony Dynamic Stereo headphones, MDR 7506. These are pretty standard, but yeah, these headphones, they pretty much, the higher frequencies are more clear, right? Whereas other headphones, say if you have gaming headphones, some frequencies get reduced, right, or get removed, right, because, you know, if you're doing like a gaming, like a shooter, certain frequencies can damage the ear. So these headphones, they're more clear in the higher areas, so you can like actually, you know, pick out the high frequencies to clean up the audio, right? For me, hearing this audio can be uncomfortable because you hear like the crackling, the squeaky, and the high pops and all the stuff like that. So it's not pleasing to the ear, right? So pretty much that's where dynamic compression comes into play. I want to add more to like the tutorial. So another situation that Paul has when he's doing handheld stuff, right?
But I do have to imagine that if I was using Asus Strix RTX 39.
Usually when he does handheld, like the camera does like a left and right stereo recording. So I usually just right click. I go to audio channels and I usually select the left channel just to keep them both the same.
These that were designed for that higher board power that my cards might have performed.
As another example, just to end the video, this is me playing Apex.
Enemy down. Picked up our teammate's banner. More enemies.
All right, so there's a lot going on there. I mean, not only am I showing off that I killed the whole squad by myself, but no, I'm kidding. But like, you know, there's a lot of like explosions, low booms, and you can hear like the shields cracking and the gunfire. So there's a lot going on, right? If you're uploading game content, some of that sound can be uncomfortable also to hear. This is where like the multiband compressor could come into play to help you adjust those like frequencies, right? Those high sounds, so it can be more pleasing to hear. And this is something I did when I was uploading more gameplay content. Sorry for the long introduction there. So pretty much all my audio is on audio track 1, right? So in our mixer here, then we want to go to audio track 1, right? You can name this if you want. You know, you can right click and go rename and just say main audio, right? And the cool thing here up in the mixer, you know, it gets updated, so you know what's what, right? On our main audio, which is audio track 1, we're gonna go up here to our mixer window. We're gonna go to the pull down menu, and then we're gonna select amplitude compression, multiband compressor, right? And we get this guy. Ladies and gentlemen, the multiband compressor. This thing is very, very useful, right? When I discovered this thing, you had no idea, I really got happy, so. So if I just play everything at stock, you know, there's no threshold, nothing, right?
3080, at least for now, are going to be available at launch. Some are being pushed to later in September, and some are going to be available in October.
All right, so if you are familiar with audio, or if you're not, I'll just quickly go over this. Think of a color wavelength, right? There's like a spectrum, right? Pretty much this is red and this is blue, right? Pretty much you have a wavelength, right, and everything in between, right? So, you know, you have your reds, you have, this goes to yellows, greens, blues, deep blues, and then purples, right? You know, that's your color spectrum, right? Think of audio as almost the same way, right? So in this case, pretty much, you know, everything is divided to lows, the mids, high mids, and then it's like the treble, right? So the cool thing about this filter is if I hit play.
And we'll surely discuss it on the live show this week and stuff like that.
So like the orange here, this is like the main audio wave information that we get when Paul is speaking, right? The lower frequencies here, which is blue, there's sort of like more room tones like the bass and all that stuff, right? The purple here, these are more noise, right? Now you don't want to completely remove this or else the audio is going to sound weird, but like you want to control it so it doesn't like become too much, right? And then you have the highs, you know, like the higher mids. So if I was to like isolate just like the highs, right, which I'm talking about, this is more like the noise area. Now, when you hear Paul speaking, you don't hear much of his voice, right? But if once he starts picking up, say, like plastic, or you can hear like squeaky sounds, right? Then it becomes way too much. I hear that plastic. Yeah, it's a lot, right? It gets very annoying, right? So if I will go over to like the bass side, in the same area when he's like unwrapping like the graphics card. Yeah, you don't really hear anything, right? Because it's a different frequency, right? However, there still is a lot of low hum in the background. Mainly you hear like a loud thumping sound when he's like unpacking something and so on and so forth, right? Just like there's a lot of low frequencies there that you need but you don't need, right? And then pretty much now we have like pretty much the main focal area, which is indicated by the orange color wavelength here. So with Paul speaking, this is pretty much where most of his voice information is at.
It'll be available in October. So I'll keep an eye on that myself, and we'll surely discuss it on the live show this week and stuff like that.
So as you can see, when he's taking stuff out of the box, you can hear his voice more, right? But you do not hear the other stuff, right? Say when he's like taking stuff out, like the foam and all that crap, all the nasty noises, because those noises, they're in a different area of the audio spectrum, right? So pretty much you want to control the area where there's a noise without affecting his voice, right?
You guys are getting really the first look along with me for all of this.
And then if we go to like the higher mids, which is green.
But this is the Zotac RTX 3080 Trinity.
This area, the higher mid area, that's also important for like the audio quality of Paul's voice, right? But also you start mixing in like noise, right? It starts to get matched up with his voice, so we want to control those as well, right? So to begin with, I always try to like normalize the audio, right? I want to make sure I have like a normalized bass, like that's close to what I want, which is -4, right?
To be available at launch. Some are being pushed to later in September, and some are going to be available in October. So I'll keep an eye on that myself.
So I want to go a little bit higher. So in this case, I select everything, right click, audio gain, normalize max peak to 4, because I want to crank it up more. Everything gets cranked up.
And we'll surely discuss it on the live show this week and stuff like that. But for now, I have not even opened these boxes or anything.
If you want to know more about like normalizing peaks and all this stuff, I'll have a link in the description. You guys can check that out. I'm going to start from left to right, solo only the low frequencies. And when I hit play, all right, if we watch like our audio meter here, most of like the low frequencies, they kind of like dance around like -40, right? Now, like I said, we do want bass, right? Because bass is important, right? For like the audio to sound full, right? I don't want to cut out all the bass, but I do want to like control the bass, right? So in this case, I want the threshold to be at -40. The ratio, I find that 4 works well. If you want to know more about compression, and I'll have a link in the description as well about like people talking about compression better than I can. So now we hit play. As you can see here, the red. So anything that starts to get past -40, you can see the compression work. It starts to like turn down like the volume a bit, and that's what we want. Now, if we were to jump over to say when Paul's speaking, like in the room, it's not that much, because actually if we go to the gameplay, yeah, you can see how much that's totally different, right? There's a lot of bass that's getting reduced, right? So we have to make different adjustments when it comes to video gameplay. So I'll get to that later, but for now, in this case, for Paul's unboxing video, -40 is working well. So now I'm gonna like focus on his voice area, which is the mids here mainly.
Some are going to be available in October. So I'll keep an eye on that myself, and we'll surely discuss it on the live.
So pretty much we see like the audio levels being like dancing around the -10 area. So I set the threshold to -10, and again the ratio to 4. Now we hit play.
This week and stuff like that. But for now, I have not even opened these boxes or anything. You guys are getting really the first look along with me for all of this. But this.
All right, so pretty much, not much compression is happening, which is okay, right? We want to be subtle with compression, because if you add too much compression to like the voice, you can hear it, like it sounds very unnatural, right? We want slight compression, but we want to make sure we have enough compression for it to do something, right?
RTX 3080 Trinity. Next to arrive was our Asus card, and this is a tough gaming.
All right, so that's good. So now we're going to like the more like the higher bids area. I'm gonna solo that.
GPU. Tough Gaming has been an Asus sub-brand for their motherboards and stuff for quite some time. More recently, it's been used for their, I would say...
All right, so you can see like usually the audio kind of sticks around the -20 area, right? And then every time he does something, say if he cuts like the plastic strap, there's a spike, right? So in this case, I want to set the threshold to -20. Again, the ratio to 4.
More recently, I think tough for Asus means not as nice or as expensive as ROG. And in fact,
So if we go back to the area where he's cutting,
and stuff for quite some time. More recently, it's been used for their, I would say, and this is a tough gaming series GPU.
so you can see when he's cutting the plastic, like the compression kicks in really quick to like lower the, to reduce like the volume of that spike, right?
GPU, tough gaming is.
Now you have attack here, right, and the multi-band compression. Pretty much what attack is like how fast the compression works once that spike happens, right? I want to try to like reduce like the attack. I want to be faster because obviously when he cuts like the plastic strap, it's a quick, sharp snap, right? So I want to say it down to 3.
Series GPU. Tough Gaming has been an Asus sub-brand for their motherboards and stuff for quite some time. More recently, it's been used for their, I would say...
All right, I can actually hear the difference, hopefully you can too, but because we reduced the attack time now, so the moment like he snaps like the plastic strap and that spike, the compression kicks in and it reduces the audio really quickly, right? That's pretty cool. Same thing with the mids. Actually, I do add an attack as well for like when Paul is speaking. So say out of nowhere he gets excited for opening the GPU box or whatever, the compression does kick in faster. So I'll set the compression to his voice to like say fast attack at 3.
And this is a Tough Gaming Series GPU. Tough Gaming is...
And as you can see, pretty much, some of that, the sound of him cutting the plastic strap is bleeding into his voice area. So we do want a fast attack there as well, right? Now, for the final, we're going towards like the higher pitch sounds. And like in this frequency range, there is part of his voice that we do want to retain, right? Because like some of the high frequencies is important for it to have more of a bite, I guess that's the sound. Pretty much if you reduce too much highs, it sounds muddy. So by having more highs, it does kind of help make things sound more natural, right? But there's a lot of like nasty frequencies that exist in this area, right? So we want to try to control that area like a lot. Yeah, you can hear like that fucking sound. It's like, yeah, it's gross, right? So let's zoom in here. So now if we pay attention to our audio meter here. So you can see like a lot of like nasty sounds, when he's moving the boxes, when he's like any kind of like crinkly sounds, when he like moves the box. In this case, actually, I put like the threshold for this area very low. I usually see in this case, I probably go to, let's try -40, and the ratio, I set that to 4. In this case, I want the attack also to be slow, to be fast, right? So put that to 3. So when Paul is talking, you can see a lot of his voice frequencies, like when he's speaking, like the frequencies are around the -40 area. So anytime he cuts the box open or something like that, you can see like the meter, it passes -40, right? So I want to try to control the frequencies underneath -40, right? Anything past -40 is too much noise, and we don't want that. We want to control it. Yeah, so see, like anything past -40 is shit, so we want to control that. So I got my threshold here, like I said, at -40, ratio 4. I want a fast attack, which is 3. And if you want to know what release is, the release is simply like how fast the compressor goes back to normal, right? It's like just like I said, my example of compression, almost like a knob. The attack is how fast the knob gets turned down when like the compressor kicks in, and the release is how slow the knob gets back to normal after the compressor gets used, right? So as you're removing the GPU out of the box, there's a lot of like noise that happens, but it gets reduced.
And in fact, not even this Tough Gaming card specifically. There is a Tough Gaming OC. This is the OC edition that they sent over for me.
Usually the high frequencies is the one I add like the most compression to, because I want to reduce a lot of that noise because it sounds bad, right? So now if I put everything to normal, let's play this scene. This is with the compressor, the multi-band compressor working all together.
And in fact, not even this Tough Gaming card specifically. There is a Tough Gaming OC. This is the OC edition that they sent over for me. And they're going to have a non-OC edition as well.
Now this is with it off.
And in fact, not even this Tough Gaming card specifically. There is a Tough Gaming OC. This is the OC edition that they sent over for me. And they're gonna have a non-OC onto the card itself though. Here it comes.
All right, this is with it on.
Onto the card itself though. Here it comes.
All right, so you still hear that noise, obviously, because we need that sound, like the crinkling sound of the plastic, the squeaky sound of the foam, and all the rubbing together. All that gets controlled, so it's not like uneasy to hear, right? And that's where multiband compressor is very helpful, right? Obviously, all this audio information is important, so people can have an idea what's going on, right? But when it's too much, it sounds like shit. So we want to make sure we control these frequencies, like I just showed you, right? To end the video, this is Paul when he's just talking on a regular handheld camera with no microphone. The handheld microphones usually tend to pick up a lot of room noise. I noticed there's also a lot of like built-in compression that happens. If you look into like Paul's lavalier mic, see you can see the waveforms, there's a lot of like information, right? However, like the camera microphone, it tends to add like its own compression because you can see that all the waveforms here are very similar, right? So it's something to keep in mind when using a handheld camera. So I'm going to turn the multiband compressor off.
But I do have to imagine that if I was using Asus Strix RTX 3090s that were designed for that higher board...
This is with that on.
But I have to imagine that if I was using Asus Strix cards that were designed for that higher board power, that I might have had better results when it comes to the GPU frequency.
Usually with the handheld camera, there's more higher frequencies, right? Like a lot of like noise, like usually hums.
And you really need to scale up the memory overclocking along with the GPU in order to hit those high overall clocks. I could definitely see that the memory was holding me back and keeping me at a peak in the low 28.
So you can see how much the compressor is being kicked in, right? When like him using like the handheld audio. It's subtle, but it does make a massive difference, right? Now with gameplay, it's a different story. All right, so gameplay footage, there's a lot of information going on, right? Obviously, so I'm usually more subtle with it, right? So in this case, let's start with like the base area. All right, so pretty much like a Gibraltar dropped his airstrike, so you're hearing a lot of the booms in the distance, right? So that's what you hear, right? So as you can see, you're pretty much just being at negative 40, that's kind of like too much. Especially also when you're shooting, there's like a low boom, right? You want to have that bass so you can have like that oomph, right? So I don't know, in this case, maybe negative 10. Well, let's add a fast attack for this as well by making the attack 3. Maybe let's lower it down to, say, negative 20. All right, we want some of the boom, but we don't want too much of it. The mid frequencies, that's where most of your information is going to come from. Negative 10 should be fine. This is more like the higher frequencies, the mid highs. Let's try negative 10 on this one and see what happens. Oh, okay, see that high-pitched sound where like I break the shield? Yeah, so I'm gonna try negative 15 just to control that high piercing sound. Oh, there you go. And let's do like the highs. Let's see, let's try negative 20 on this one. Yeah, so usually you hear like the high-pitched sounds when like the shield breaks. So all together now.
Enemy down.
This is with it off. Ooh, all right, so Yeah, mostly like the compression that is helpful in this situation is basically when like the shield breaks, you know, you have the high pitched crackling sound, or when someone falls or drops, right? Or also like the gunfire when like say it hits like a metal, something kind of like a high piercing sound. Yeah, the compression kicks in and kind of controls that, right? That way, like your viewer doesn't get uncomfortable if they're, listening to your gameplay, videos at a high volume or whatever. I'm gonna end the video here because it's going long enough. Now I gotta edit this shit down. Yeah, multi-band compression, cool stuff. I'll put some links in the description about like some other videos where I show you how to how I clean up audio and so on and so forth. And there'll be some other videos linking you to guys that can explain compression better than I can, right? If this video has helped you for your editing, in any manner, there'll be a link in my description, and I'll put an image for my PayPal link. If this video has helped you out, I would appreciate, just a coffee is appreciated. And if you don't matter. Just leave a like or a comment. I'm good. I'm still gonna make these videos either way, but if you give me a few bucks, I do appreciate it. I'm not gonna lie. So, anyways, that's all I got to say. I hope the video helps. Thank you for watching. I'll get back to you soon. I'll make another tutorial about like how I use this and a chain of other filters that I use for audio that I learned to use for myself, right? So, till next time. Thanks for watching. Peace.